Who is the most underrated person in the Bible? I think Joseph, the husband of Mary, makes the top three of the most underrated people in the Bible. Like this guy was about to get married and all of a sudden realized that his fiancée was pregnant and he wasn't the father, but he goes ahead and marries her. Now, for all the songs and sermons we preach about Christmas, very rarely does the name Joseph pop up. In fact, the wise men from the East play a more prominent role in our sermons and songs about Christmas than Joseph ever did. So, as I studied Matthew chapter 1 today, the Holy Spirit decided to point out lessons from the life of Joseph to me, and I want to share them with you here. For one, Joseph was a very, very good man. He represented the best of mankind. Like, he realized that his fiancée was pregnant and he didn't want to embarrass her or make a public show of her, so he decides to put her away quietly, which is a very, very sensible thing to do. And I just imagine if it were in these days, or if it were you or I, some of us will be like, we want to make an example of this girl, we want to use her to preach a sermon so that other girls, will see what happened to her and they will desist from immorality. And so we'll put her story out there. We will disgrace her. Definitely, she will be on Gist Lovers, she will be on Instablog Nigeria, she will be on every blog. Behold, a virgin who is pregnant with a child. Mom will see miracle and all that. But Joseph did none of that. It kind of like reminds me of a story that Reverend Niven shared with us one time. He said a lady came to him and was feeling all sober and that she was saying she has been a sinner and she has repented, she has given her life to Christ and she wants the pastor to pray for her. And then she goes ahead and tell him that she's been having an affair with a certain brother in church and they've been having sex and sleeping together. But then now that she has repented, she feels like she wants to come and confess. And the Holy Spirit told Reverend Niven, said, this lady is not repenting of anything. She had an affair with this brother and he has disappointed her and she just wants to drag his name and spoil his name. Now, the action of Joseph makes me doubt the genuineness of the love that a lot of us claim to have. Like, people say things like it's so easy for love to become hate. Like if someone loves you so much and then you disappoint the person begins to hate you. I don't think the person ever loved you at all. It's love cannot turn to hate. I don't see the possibility of that. But then this study is not about love. So let's get back to lessons learned from the life of Joseph. I like how God decided to speak to Joseph via a dream. Like he sends an angel to speak to him in his dream. I will expect that for the gravity of the situation and what is at stake, God will come down from his throne himself, enter Joseph's workshop, do one or two signs, to show him that, look, hey, look, it is God. I am God. And the child that Mary is carrying is mine. But he doesn't do that. He just speaks to him via a dream. I mean, even the wise men needed an angel to appear to them physically and tell them, do not be afraid, for them to go seeking for the child. Mary had an angel appear to her physically. Zachariah had an angel appear to him. But then it comes to Joseph and Joseph just needs a dream. Who takes dreams seriously? I think that speaks to the fact that Joseph was a very, very sensitive man. He was very, very sensitive to the leading and the promptings of the Holy Spirit. And I think that's the question to you and I today. How easy is it for the Holy Spirit to convince you to move according to his will? So what is the action point for today? In every circumstance, it is not about what makes sense. It's about what God says. Just like Joseph was about to do what makes logical sense by putting Mary away, he did what God said by taking her as his wife. So in every situation you find yourself, someone has offended you. It's not about what makes sense. What makes sense is, of course, to either cut the person off or to retaliate. What is God saying at that point in time? You're about to make a career move. It's not about what makes the most logical sense. It's about what the Holy Spirit is saying. You're about to get married. It's not about who makes sense. It's about who God says. The other day on Twitter, there was this argument about men should consider the woman's past before getting married to her. I like to say also, of course, should the woman also consider the man's past before getting married to her? But as far as I am concerned, the past is inconsequential when it comes to what God is saying. I think now I understand why people really talk about Joseph. It is because the decisions he made does not suit the patriarchal narrative of our society. What message do you want to preach from a man who got married to a woman who was pregnant and the child was not his? Nah, you can't. They can't. You don't want to talk about that. Very few people preach about Hosea, right? No, they won't, because God told him to go get married to a prostitute. That's what he said. It doesn't make sense, and we don't want to hear that. We want to always, preach sermons that will make the women keep themselves for the man. You know what? When they say that, Keep your virginity for your husband. It's the best gift you can give him. But nobody tells that to the man. It's not your virginity is not a gift you can give your wife, no? During that conversation on Twitter, I read a comment by a guy who said, any man that does not consider a woman's past before getting married to her is a fool. And truth of the matter is that I don't really want to be seen as a smart man. I don't want people coming to my grave and say, here lies the smartest man in the world. No, what I prefer is for people to come to my grave and say, here lies a man that walked with God. To me, that is a greater testimony. And I have come to realize a long time ago that if you really want to be relevant in the things of God and have a good walk with God, you cannot look good in the face of people. You cannot make sense. A lot of your decisions will be questionable. So I think what you and I should do right now is to do an analysis of all the decisions that has brought us here. Does it all make logical sense? If it all makes logical sense, then I doubt we have been listening to what the Holy Spirit is saying. If you look through the Bible, you will realize that all those who walk with God at one point or the other made decisions that didn't make sense. Like Joshua saw the walls of Jericho and then went to his commanders and said, look, do you know how we're going to pull these walls down? We're going to march around it 6 days, or the 7th day we'll march around it and shout. I can't even imagine what it was like in that strategy meeting when Joshua came with that idea. It can't make sense. If working with God is what you want to do, you cannot make sense in the sight of men all the time. It's not really possible. The major challenge with our Christianity these days is that our decisions are driven by logic and not the Spirit. I think it's high time we begin to question a lot of things that we do and a lot of rules that we have put in place. Were they really inspired by the Spirit or just common sense? For example, if Mary and Joseph were getting married in some of our churches these days, they won't join them. Our marriage committee will not join them. The bride is pregnant, nahi. They won't join them. In fact, some churches have rules and they won't even let her wear a white wedding gown. They will say she should wear a gray or a cream wedding gown. Some will say she can't use a veil to cover her face. I wonder where we got that from. I really do wonder where we got that from. So let me sign out by reiterating this. It's not about what makes sense. It's about what he says. And it's not about making smart decisions. It's about making God decisions. I think I'll put that on a t-shirt. Don't make smart decisions, make God decisions. I definitely will. Well, that's it on March with Jesus, day 1. Today we read Matthew chapter 1, and tomorrow we're going to continue with Matthew chapter 2. If you read Matthew 1 with me, you can go ahead and put on the comment sections what your key takeaways are and what you think or what the Holy Spirit is saying to you. And invite your friends to join us, of course. And that's it from me today. Bye.